The saddest pain is not being hated. It is being constantly taken for granted by the people you would have sacrificed everything for. The saddest pain in life is not rejection. It is not failure. It is not even betrayal. The saddest pain is feeling unappreciated by the people you gave your heart to. There are people in this world who would sacrifice everything for the people they love. They give their time, their energy, their loyalty, their patience, their emotional support. And yet somehow they still end up feeling invisible. Some of the kindest souls suffer silently because they spend
their entire lives making sure everyone else feels valued, while nobody stops to ask if they are okay. That pain changes a person. Because when you constantly pour love into people who only notice you when they need something, your heart slowly becomes tired. You begin questioning your worth. You begin wondering if your effort even matters. You begin realizing that some people became comfortable receiving your love without ever appreciating the cost of it. And the painful truth is this: people often notice your absence more than your presence. They ignore your effort when you are there every day. But the moment you become distant, suddenly they realize what they lost. That is why emotionally strong people eventually become quiet. Not because they stopped caring, but because they became exhausted from giving everything and receiving emotional emptiness in return. Some people will only value your heart after your silence replaces your kindness. And that realization hurts deeply, especially when you loved genuinely, especially when your intentions were pure, especially when you stayed loyal during moments when everyone else walked away. There are people carrying emotional pain right now.
Now, not because they were hated, but because they were never appreciated. That kind of loneliness is dangerous, because feeling emotionally unseen slowly destroys the spirit. You can smile in front of people while secretly feeling emotionally abandoned inside. You can support everyone around you while quietly fighting battles nobody notices. You can become the strongest person in the room while still feeling completely unloved. And sometimes, the people hurting the most are the ones pretending to be okay. That is why emotional exhaustion is real. A person can only tolerate feeling undervalued for so long before their heart changes. Eventually, they stop explaining themselves. Eventually, they stop begging to be understood. Eventually, they stop trying to convince
people to appreciate them. And when that day comes, their silence becomes permanent. Because there is only so much disappointment the human heart can carry before it chooses peace over attachment. Never underestimate the damage caused by emotional neglect. Words matter. Effort matters. Appreciation matters. Sometimes people are not asking for money, gifts, or attention. Sometimes they simply want to feel seen. They want to know their loyalty mattered. They want to know their sacrifices were noticed. They want to feel emotionally safe around the people they love. But sadly, many people only
realize someone's value after they lose access to them. That is one of life's cruelest lessons. Human beings often take consistent love for granted. When someone is always there, people begin expecting their kindness instead of appreciating it. And the more dependable you are, the more invisible your effort becomes. That is why strong people eventually create boundaries. Not because they became cold, but because they finally realized they deserve the same love they keep giving to everyone else. Read that again. You deserve the same love you give. You deserve respect. You deserve appreciation.
You deserve emotional honesty, and you should never feel guilty for walking away from environments where your heart constantly feels ignored.
Protecting your peace is not selfish. Choosing yourself is not weakness. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop chasing validation from people who were never emotionally mature enough to value you properly. Because the truth is, your worth does not decrease because somebody failed to appreciate you. A diamond remains valuable even when people walk past it without noticing. And a good heart remains rare even in a world filled with selfishness. Never allow temporary disappointment to convince you that your kindness was a mistake. The world desperately needs more loyal people, more compassionate people, more emotionally genuine people. But kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You cannot continue setting yourself on fire just to keep emotionally unavailable people warm. At some point, healing requires distance. At some point, growth requires letting go. At some point, self-respect becomes more important than emotional attachment. And when you finally reach that stage in life, something powerful happens. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop explaining your value. You stop forcing connections that constantly drain your soul. And instead, you begin choosing peace. Real peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing your value without needing constant validation from others. The kind of peace that comes from understanding that genuine people are rare. The kind of peace that comes from finally appreciating yourself after years of emotional neglect. Because healing begins the moment you realize this. The right people will never make you feel unimportant. The right people will never constantly ignore your effort. The right people will never make you question your worth every single day. Healthy love appreciates. Healthy friendships appreciate. Healthy relationships appreciate. And if someone only notices your value after losing you, then your absence became the lesson their selfishness refused to learn earlier. Never forget this. Unappreciated says more about their emotional blindness than your value. Do not let disappointment harden your heart completely. Learn from the pain. Grow from the pain. But never become the kind of person who destroys others simply because life once hurt them.
You. Remain kind. Remain wise. Remain emotionally strong. Just stop giving unlimited access to people who repeatedly prove they do not value your heart. Because one day, the people who overlooked your loyalty will realize how rare you truly were. And by then, you will already be healing in places they can no longer reach. The saddest pain is feeling unappreciated. But the most powerful healing begins when you finally start appreciating yourself. If this message touched your heart, protect your peace, know your worth, and follow for more deep motivational wisdom.